Hello fam, and welcome to Geek Gamer Top on the microphone. And today, we're talking game longevity. And what else is in the conversation than none other than Capcom Street Fighter VI. We're breaking down what Capcom has really said about a 10-year plan for Street Fighter VI, what it means for Street Fighter VII, and why one of the wildest rumors you've heard just blew the doors wide open on what's possible. Let's separate the facts from the fiction. So, the big headline that's got everyone talking is Street Fighter VI is getting 10 years of support. But is that an official, ironclad promise? Or is it something else? The truth comes from recent interviews with the game's top developers. When talking to publications like IGN, producer Shuhei Matsumoto was asked directly about the game's future. He said, "I personally want Street Fighter VI to be running and operating for as long as possible. When we initially kicked off the project, our internal goal was to hit that 10-year life cycle." That right there is the anchor for this whole conversation. It's not a press release with a date on it, but it's a clearly stated internal goal from the producer of the game. He even added that the team is not really thinking about Street Fighter VII right now, because their focus is on taking care of all the new players jumping in. And it turns out, the franchise is getting a lot younger, like real younger. Matsumoto noted that the game has become incredibly popular with players between the ages of 15 and 25. This isn't just some vague hope. It's the philosophy driving the game's development to retain this new audience. They aren't looking toward a sequel because they're still building out the main event. So what does aiming for a 10-year lifespan actually mean? Well, it signals a big shift for the franchise, but it's one that's been building for a while. For years, the Street Fighter model involved iterative releases. You'd get the base game, then a year or two later, Super Street Fighter, then Ultra, each adding characters and balance changes, but also splitting the player base and asking fans to buy the game all over again. Street Fighter V already started moving away from this, leaning into seasonal DLC and updates. Street Fighter VI is taking that idea and putting it on steroids. The game is being treated less like a single product and more like an evolving platform. However, in interviews with outlets like Dexerto, the developers have clarified what that evolution will focus on. While new characters are the priority, the single-player World Tour mode has received its grand finale. The story was concluded with the arrival of the mysterious Ingrid, who not only became the final character added to that mode, but also used her powers to alter time and prevent the death of Bosch. With that story arc concluded, the focus now shifts entirely to the main roster. This is a huge deal for the fighting game community. A stable platform for a decade means everyone, from casuals to pros, can invest their time and money knowing the game won't be obsolete in 2 years. It lets the competitive scene, like the Capcom Pro Tour, build momentum on a solid foundation, year after year. It means your main character today will probably still be your main in 5 years, just with a lot more matchups to learn. But this model has its own hurdles. Some players worry that this live service approach leads to more aggressive monetization. There's also the challenge of keeping the game from getting stale. While the drive system in Street Fighter VI is fantastic, can any set of mechanics stay fresh for 10 years? In an interview with Virginia Glaze of Dexerto, the developers clarified their stance, stating they feel adding more mechanics would make the game too complex and they aren't planning to add new systems at this stage. The focus will be on balance and content to keep the refined mechanics feeling fresh. A long time future guarantees a lot of speculation, and this is where things get really interesting. The idea of a 10-year plan sent the community rumor mill into overdrive, and this is where we separate confirmed news from hype. Let's talk about the big one. The shocking announcement of Tifa Lockhart from Final Fantasy VII as a guest character. For months, this was a fan dream that seemed too good to be true. Well, at Summer Game Fest 2026, Capcom and Square Enix made it official. Tifa is coming to Street Fighter VI. This is a massive, confirmed announcement. She's part of the Year 4 roster, joining a new wave of representation from different parts of the world, with Yasmine from the Philippines and Arjun from India, and even World Tour's Bosch, who's somewhere in Nashville, whose appearance is now possible thanks to the events of the story finale. The developers even shared that the conversation to bring Tifa into the game started around 3 years ago. So, happy birthday to Tifa in Street Fighter VI! This reveal also opens up a world of possibilities. In her interview, Virginia Glaze of Dexterto confirmed with the devs that while nothing else is decided, there's a strong possibility for more martial arts focused guest characters from other genres in the future. Fan theories immediately ran wild, with some suggesting the dimension hopping character Ingrid was responsible for Tifa's appearance. When asked about this, the devs praised fans for their keen eye, but clarified that there is no in-universe connection. However, a different crossover seems to be on their minds. A collaboration art piece of Baki 30 and Street Fighter VI appeared on Virginia Glaze's Twitter page, and the devs have since expressed that they are open to the idea of adding Baki Hanma to the game. While a 10-year plan for the game is huge, it's also just one part of a much bigger strategy for the Street Fighter brand. Capcom isn't just thinking about the game, they're thinking about the whole franchise. And a massive piece of that puzzle is the upcoming live-action Street Fighter movie. A new film from Legendary Entertainment is on its way, and unlike some past movie adaptations, Capcom is deeply involved. In a recent interview with Virginia Glaze of Dexterto, Street Fighter VI's own director, Takayuki Nakayama, revealed that he was brought in to consult on the movie's script. He candidly admitted that the first draft he saw was pretty rough, but that he and the production team spent about 2 years rewriting it to get it right. Because he was so directly involved, he now says he has absolutely no worries about the final film. This isn't just a movie happening off in its own world. It's a key part of the strategy to keep Street Fighter in the spotlight for years. A successful movie brings in new fans, and the long-term plan for Street Fighter VI ensures there's a modern, thriving game waiting for them. The movie, which is set to hit theaters on October 16, 2026, can serve as a massive market event right in the middle of the game's life, creating a powerful feedback loop between Hollywood and the game itself. This is the kind of synergy that a long-term platform strategy makes possible. The road ahead for Street Fighter VI is long and packed with potential. Capcom's stated goal for a 10-year journey is a massive vote of confidence in the game and its community. Now that we know a rumor as huge as Tifa can be a reality, and with the devs open to even more collaborations like Baki, the future has never been brighter. But I want to hear from you. We've talked about what Capcom is doing, but what is your dream collaboration for the game for the next 10 years? Now that the Final Fantasy door is open, who is your ultimate guest character from any genre in the game. Which legacy fighter do you think needs to make a comeback? Let me know your perfect 10-year plan, guest characters and more, and see how the game is evolving in the comments below. And if you want to stay up to date on this wild ride, make sure to subscribe to the channel. So, where does that leave us? The reality that Street Fighter VI is being built to last. Capcom's leadership has stated their internal goal is a 10-year life cycle, and they're focusing on the game's longevity instead of rushing out a sequel. This points to a single, evolving platform that has already wrapped up its single-player story to focus on a decade of new fighters and will stick to its core mechanics. This long-term vision is backed by a wider brand strategy, especially the deep collaboration on the upcoming live-action movie, showing a real commitment to the franchise's future health. And while we should still be careful with rumors, the confirmation of Tifa Lockhart proves that Capcom is willing to make some truly epic moves to keep the game exciting. What's certain is that Capcom is playing the long game. For all of us, that means the promise of a stable, exciting community for years to come. It's a marathon, not a sprint, and we're all here for the ride. So fam, it's a very wild time in the world of Street Fighter. So, that's it for the video. So, thanks for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Street Fighter. See y'all in the next one. Danko!